Okay, there was two games in the Norwegian Championships yesterday. This is the first one of them. I played e4, my opponent played e6, the French. I played the knight variation. He played d5, he's determined to have an ordinary French. Either have me take or push the pawn forward. I'm determined to do neither of those things. Now he insists, and now I have no real choice. I have to either push the pawn forward and play the advanced French, or take the pawn and play the exchange French. I play both. Yesterday I decided to play the exchange French. He takes, I take, and I play d4. Very unambitious system, but yeah, moment to moment. He plays bishop to g4, and I defend, and he brings out his other bishop. I get out of the way of the attack of that pawn and ask his bishop the question at the same time. He backs up, and now I hatch out an ambitious plan, but not all the details were in place, and especially I developed my dark square bishop to the wrong square. Okay, here I'd planned up to here after bishop h5, I'd planned up to move 17, 18 or so, a good few moves in advance. I missed a detail. I shouldn't have launched the plan without all those details in place. Anyway, I played knight c5. I'm threatening the bishop. I'm threatening the pawn. He really doesn't have a choice but to say the bishop. Now, as part of this plan, I decided I'm going to take with the knight. The plan is to storm forward with all four pawns. Maybe a bit dumb actually, but you know, you gotta try. So I play g4 whilst I got the chance, and he develops his knight, and I defend with my other knight, and he plays his knight forward so that the queen is now threatening to come to h4 and say check. There's only one way to prevent that, and that's to push the pawn to h4 so it's defended by the rook, and that way the square is defended. He develops his queen. I'll play queen to d3. I'm pretty sure this is the right place. And he castles long. And now my first big mistake. I am down anyway, but you know, my first big mistake. I play bishop to e3. And now the queen no longer defends the third rank, which is important. The queen needs to defend the third rank. So that if we change everything off, you know, if he plays g5, I can take, and then he's threatening my rook, but I can play rook to h3, defended by the queen. And if we swap off the rooks, I've got time to castle and bring the other rook, and then I get control of the h file. Or he doesn't get control of the h file anyway. But I played it to the wrong square. Yeah, this is what I was expecting. And I've got to castle now to defend the rook. Or I could take. It maybe results in the same thing actually, but a castle long, of course. And he takes. And now the problem with the knight not covering is shown. The queen not covering. He's got a fork on either f2 or g3. Nothing I can do about it. He almost took the knight to go to an attack. This would have saved my skin, but he stopped himself in the last second and took with the bishop, and then he took with the knight and threatens the queen. I'm thinking, okay, I'll come here, I've got an attack going here, I'm attacking this pawn and maybe eventually this pawn. But the move which I missed, oh yeah, he takes the rooks off, so that my rook isn't any longer on the d file, and then he plays the move I hadn't taken into account in my calculations. So I can forgive myself for missing that move so many moves in the future, but it's disastrous for me, of course. There's nothing to play for now, really. So play my bishop back to g1, and he comes to g4, and he's threatening the knight, and I'll play my bishop to defend the knight, my bishop not my rook, and he plays c3, d3. I played c3, and then I think he played knight either here or here, but I resigned at the same time because there's nothing to play for now. I thought if he checked me here, I could go here and get away with it, but I can't. I can't get away with it. But he has a stronger threat than just checking me straight away. He can come with the knight to take away the d1 square from the king. So there's nothing to do. So I realised this, and I'm not sure if he got to play the knight to either f2 or f3. Either way, I resigned before it happened. And yeah, that was the first game thrown away in fairly short order. Okay, on to game 2. This wasn't thrown away in fairly short order at all. So yeah, he did play f3 before I resigned, actually. Knight f3 before I resigned. Both moves work. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I'm just gonna load up the next game. Sorry. Okay, it appears I've not got the next game loaded up ready. Yeah. So I'm just going to take it directly from the score sheet. So I played black this time, and my opponent played c4. And about 9 weeks ago, I saw a video from the Gambit man William Gray, and he talks about gambit to play against the English opening, because the English opening is difficult to find a gambit against and go to attack against. But I haven't practiced it since. I didn't really go through all the lines and learn it. I just saw the video and remembered the main points of the lines. At least I thought I remembered the main points. Let's see. So I played a6, and he played knight to c3. Very normal English opening move, as you would. He maybe thinks I'm going to play e5. The a6 is kind of some kind of side move, and no, I play b5, giving away a pawn, and my opponent looked really shocked, really shocked. But he takes the pawn, and I took the pawn, and he spent about 20 minutes thinking, and he took the pawn, and I played c6, and he played knight back to c3, and I pushed the pawn, and he spent about another 20 minutes thinking, and realised that actually playing to e4 with my pawn is a big threat. So he played a d4 to prevent this, and I sacrificed another pawn. I must be crazy. But now he said he became a little bit skeptical and he didn't take it, but that's fine, because I now get the pawn on e3. Alright, I'm a pawn down, but this isn't such a bad position, although if you ask the fish, of course, well, actually it's 0.39 and I'm a pawn down, so you've got to be happy with that. So yeah, I played e3 and e4, sorry, and he played e3 to get his bishop out. And in typical Benoni fashion, this gambit is also known as the Great Benoni. I bring my bishop out, and he takes, and I play knight to f6, planning on playing knight takes, planning on playing the pawn to e5, and then if he captures, capturing with the knight and getting the knight to the e3 square. A very common theme in the Benoni, and you know, it would be very good there, the knight. I thought he might play queen to a4 and attack the c6 pawn. It looks like it makes sense, but then I would have played queen to c8 to defend the pawn, and then immediately I've got the powerful threat of playing knight to c5 and threatening the queen, and then getting myself in on a3, as we talked about earlier. But he thought about it. He did say he thought about it. He really spent a lot of time thinking and was really kind of he looked very worried. He said he was very worried. He didn't know what the hell he was doing. He didn't know what the hell I was doing. But eventually he picks a good move. He develops his bishop, and I play knight to f6, and he plays f3, trying to get rid of that pawn. But I'm still looking at breaking down his centre, and there still is some danger associated with breaking down that centre. So he takes with the e pawn, and I take back with the d pawn, and that pawn, now supported by the knight, has become a bit of a bone in his throat, and with it the square e3 has become a good outpost for either of my knights, but particularly for this knight here. But when I eventually, as I had planned, get my knight to d3, lo and behold, the fish isn't very impressed. The fish wasn't very impressed by very much of my play in this game, actually. So he plays knight to d2, maybe thinking about coming here. I play bishop to d6, both to strengthen the pawn, also to sight in on the h2 pawn. I might look at getting me queen to c7 and having a barrage on the h2 pawn. And if he moves the pawn, great, then he's making a hole for me, and I will enjoy that. So yeah, he castles, and I bring out my queen and make the threat, make the battery on h2. So he moves the pawn out the way. As I say, this creates a bit of a weakness. And if we look at the evaluation here, okay, very, very much in white's favour at this point in time, because of the extra pawn, my broken up position, and all these kinds of factors. But I castle, and he plays knight to f4, which, as you see, swings the evaluation back towards my side. And I take the pawn, and now it's, again, we're back to a bit less than 1 pawn behind, which I'm happy with in terms of the evaluation. And he plays knight to b5. Not a good choice. I threaten his knight, and at the same time I'm creating a further threat on the pawn on e3. And yeah, he takes. Oh, I'll just go back actually. He said he was thinking here about playing knight takes, and then knight takes bishop, and then knight to d5. But I have a very good move there in queen c4, threatening the knight and threatening the pawn on d3. So yeah, he was glad he hadn't picked that when we looked at it in the analysis. So he takes, I take, and he takes the pawn, and now I take back the pawn with check. He's got to move the king, and I'm going to pick up the pawn on b2. And as you can see, suddenly a pawn up, and the evaluation has swung in my favour. Not by a great deal. He played king to h1, so that he got a check, and I played queen takes pawn. Played bishop to d3, e3 to blockade the pawn. This makes sense. Very sensible thing to do. And I played the f rook to d8. I thought about it for a few minutes, and I thought it was a better move, and the computer agrees with me that the f rook to e8 was better. So I was glad that I'd chosen the correct rook to play. And he plays queen to e1. And I play knight to e7. I'm heading for d5 to chase away that bishop to move the pawn, which then is only 2 away from queening. He played bishop. He didn't. He played rook to c2 to chase away my queen, and then I played queen to e5. And now you can see I'm more than a pawn up in it. My position is great. And he played bishop to b6, threatening the knight. And here I throw away the game for the first time. Play knight, and now he can take, and I have to take with the rook, and then he takes the bishop, and I take the pawn, and he takes the pawn with the queen, and we're back to level pawns. Alright, I've maybe still got a bit of an advantage in that his pawn is weak and isolated, but I'm not going to be able to make that count. So that was dumb. I should really just have defended with the rook. So he takes with the pawn, and as I said, I have to take with the rook. And now, for some reason, he doesn't play bishop takes knight. He plays queen f1. And I'm a whole pawn to the good again. But I start messing about really at this point. I play rook to d7, which I should have played before it was the correct move. And he plays a4, looking to get the pawn to a5 and have a better grip. And now I play knight to d5 to threaten again the bishop. Great move. I'm threatening also to come to d3. He can't put his bishop on d3 because he'll take it. He attacks the rook first, very sensible, the big queen first, so I back up, and that gives him the square, d6. When we were going through the game afterwards last night, I thought this was my biggest mistake, f6. But you'll see that the computer thinks it's the best move, and indeed the only move to preserve the advantage. So, even though, I'm pleased finding that was a great move. And he backs up with a rook. Big mistake, I should just push the pawn. Because I can support it with either rook. Or I can even play. No, I can't play f5, forget it. But I don't. I play knight to b4 to attack the bishop. Yeah, you see I missed more than a pawn in advantage with that. So things are beginning to go wrong. And he plays the bishop back and blockades the pawn. Now I had been so obsessed with getting my knight to d3, I thought, that was great, but it wants me to play to d5 to chase that bishop, of course. But, I had been kind of really focusing in on the idea of playing my bishop to my knight to d3. Thought was in a winning position there. So he plays queen to c3, and I play queen to bishop 3. But I should have played f5 to, support the pawn. But I missed it. And now he plays queen c2. And still it wants me to play queen e6, f5, queen d5. But I come out with the real blunder, the game-changing blunder of rook takes a4, and see what happens to the evaluation. Why is that a blunder? Because he gets this check. Oof. Okay, it's just one check. Yeah, but he gets this check as well. And now he plays queen h5 check. And yeah, none of the alternatives are really any good here. I'm just, but I play queen g6, trying to regulate, because there is a possibility he can go wrong here. Of course he doesn't. So he takes, and I go to e6, and he takes the pawn, and now we're back to left. But you see, it's nil all the way. Oh, sorry, he had swapped. Oh, yeah. When I played rook takes a4, he played rook takes a4. When I played rook takes a4, he played rook takes a4, and I took with the queen. And so now he takes with the, and we're level on pawns again. And you see he's +2 in the evaluation here. It's a really, really sad story. I tried to defend. I come to b5 to give myself the possibility of playing queen to b1 check, and maybe getting the knight involved, but it's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. And now he plays queen g8 check. And I play king to d6. And he plays queen to f8 check. And I play queen to e6. and he plays queen to e8 check. Of course, I can't block with the rook because then the queen goes. And if I come here, he's got rook takes. And even though that knight takes it, he's got rook here checking. Even though I take with the queen, he takes with the bishop, I take with the knight, and everything is kind of temporarily defended, and the pawn is still passed. I'm not going to survive that situation. So, but it does say that's the best plan for white. So I obviously don't play that. I play. And he checks here, and I get the rook in the way at last. And yeah, we repeated moves a few times here, and eventually he swapped off the rooks and won the pawn on the F line, and then forced the queens off, and then he's got a bishop and 2 pawns against the knight, and of course he won that. And after 4 hours and 10 minutes, I lost a winning situation. And I came out of the house at 8 o'clock in the morning, and it was nearly 11 o'clock at night when I came up that steep hill at the end of a long, tiresome, very painful day. I almost wanted to give up playing chess forever and, lock myself in a dark room for several months. But luckily I got up this morning and went to the championships again today. I'll make the analysis of that game after I've done this analysis of these 2 games in Norwegian. Yeah, thanks.